Okay, good evening, everyone. Sorry to get started a little late. The town supervisor was late today. So I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. If we could all stand for the pledge of the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilman Ciardi is absent. Councilman Coleman.
Here.
Councilman Dindal's absent. Councilman Mason. Here. Supervisor Allen.
I'm here. So the first item, this is a business meeting, so we do have a public hearing, but our first item is the acceptance of the agenda before we get started. So I'd like to make a motion to accept the agenda with the following amendments. So we're going to table the budget mod, my favorite thing to do. Those are items E and F. And then we're going to add an executive session at the end of the meeting. Anything else? Do I have that or second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carries. So with that, I'll be opening the public hearing that we're holding tonight. So I'll just go ahead and read the public hearing notice. We've scheduled a public hearing for tonight at the Harold Lipton Community Center. The purpose of said hearing is to obtain citizens' views and comments relative to the submission of an Ulster County application for financial assistance to New York State's Restore Communities Initiative grant. Under this Empire State Development Program, eligible local governments like Ulster County may receive funds for demolition, deconstruction, rehabilitation, and/or reconstruction of vacant, abandoned, condemned, and surplus properties for the purpose of stabilizing neighborhoods and revitalizing urban and rural areas and disadvantaged communities. This project includes adaptive reuse of the Accord Greenery property to support commercial ventures, including lodging, hospitality, and recreation, as well as staff housing. The following properties will be submitted for consideration to Towpath Road, Accord, New York, 12404, 16,671 square feet, vacant mixed-use property for rehabilitation. So that's what the public hearing is on. We're receiving comment on Ulster County's grant application to include this property. So they would be administering the receipt of the funding from New York State. So that is what this public hearing is about, is that grant application. So with that, what we will be doing tonight is we're receiving comments, just like all of our other public hearings. This is not a question and answer session or a back and forth. So we will be receiving comments. What I typically do, I open it up to everyone present. And then if anyone has joined on Zoom, then I will open it up there. Our business meeting will commence after this public hearing, at which point we also have a public comment portion for anyone to make comment directly to the town board on any matters pertaining to board business or anything else on the agenda. So with that, did we have a sign up sheet? No. Oh, okay. Is there anyone here who'd like to comment on this one? Jay.
Hi, I'm Jay Martin. I live at 18 Towpath Road. And I am here to request and urge the board to defeat, deny, and reject the resolution regarding the grant application for the granary project. If people do not know, this grant is a taxpayer-funded grant. That's your taxpayer money, yours, mine. This grant is a loan? No. This grant is a gift. There are no strings attached. There are no obligations to repay. There's nothing regarding reimbursement. This is a gift to the applicant should it go through. The request, as I understand it, is for $1 million. That's 1 million of your taxpayer and my taxpayer dollars. And I have to ask the question, why should you, why should I, and why should the rest of us have to fund their entrepreneurial efforts? Just does not seem right that we have to be the Kickstarter to get this thing going. What's in it for me is a question I have to ask, and maybe the board needs to ask itself too. What's in it for you? For me, there's gonna be traffic, there's gonna be noise, there's gonna be litter. So it's something that's gonna impact and affect my lifestyle immensely. This is a corporation. Let the shareholders pay their way. Let them pay the freight. If they wanna play, let them pay. Why should I? Let me take you back to your high school biology for just a moment. For some of us, it's way back. In high school biology, you might have studied something called a parasite. Parasite is an organism that looks for a host to feed upon and to create its own needs and to exist. Parasite takes everything and gives nothing back. It stays until the host dies or moves on to find another host. What we have here is a parasitic corporation. It's going to take everything and give nothing back. I would ask the board to defeat this resolution, deny it, reject it. The parasite is here and it wants to feed. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to comment? Okay.
Alana Blum. Dear board members, I'm writing to object to the Town of Rochester Town Board's approval of the county application for the Restore New York Communities Initiative on behalf of the Granary Project. My primary objection is that this proposed development is currently subject to an Article 78 proceeding. It would seem contrary to the board's role as a representative of the community to endorse this application for public funding when there is a major legal action hanging over the further progress of the project. Furthermore, the above mentioned action is predicated on the project's non-compliance with regard to the documentation required as outlined in the town's Economic Enterprise Overlay and Zoning Code and as presented to the town and planning boards during review, as well as the applicant's lack of documentation indicating why their greatly reduced parking allowances should be accepted as the best solution for the hamlet community. Another significant example of the distorted presentation of information was the applicant's refusal to provide locations of septic and well on adjacent parcels to the Department of Health and DEC, which is not only a requirement of town code, but more importantly, a matter of public health and safety. I also object to the Town of Rochester's supporting the granting of public monies to a project which, in its application process, gave lip service to the concept of community, while refusing to engage in any meaningful discourse with the surrounding residents. That is, the people directly impacted by the proposed development. They declined requests for moderated group Q&A forum with them and their consultants and never responded to important questions that were brought up during public hearings. There is no opportunity within the Restore New York application process for the issue of the Article 78 to be mentioned. The application forms do not ask if there is any impending legal action that may prevent the progress of the proposed development. There is also no evaluation of support from the adjacent community. It is for these reasons that it's important to, at the very least, delay support of this grant application until the Article 78 is resolved and the actual scope of the project is fully determined. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak?
My name is Rebecca Collins Brooks. First, as always, I want to thank you all for your time and your consideration and what you do for our town. I'm speaking tonight because I'm strongly opposed to your submission of a letter of support for the Ackworth Granary project to receive a Restore New York grant. There are many reasons for my opposition to your vote of support. However, the most important ones are listed in the criteria for the grant itself. Here are the ones that leapt out at me when reading the criteria. Strong emphasis will be placed on projects from economically distressed communities. I don't need to list our community demographics to illustrate that this is not an economically stressed community. Another one. Strong emphasis will also be placed on project feasibility and readiness. The criteria list is specific in its definition of project readiness. Project readiness, it includes conformance with local planning and zoning, federal and state permits, etc. Transportation and utility readiness. Environmental readiness, including seeker and SHPO consultation. The elephant in this room is the unresolved Article 78 that was filed regarding the planning board's handling of this application. Until this lawsuit is resolved, all of those criteria I just listed are indeterminate. It is unfair, and I would go so far as to say it is inconsiderate to the other more worthy projects to throw your support behind the granary project, for which there exist such critically important unknowns. It is not right to hold up funds that could be readily used in communities where there are very real needs as delineated in the grant guidelines. Secondarily, but perhaps most personal to this town, is how we look at community needs versus community wants. Items such as a police force or constabulary or other enforcement body, a town government, food, affordable housing, and clean water are a few important needs. The granary project is a want, and it is not necessarily wanted by the entire community. The word community has been used since the inception of this project in nearly every communication by the applicant, as if they have elicited the approval of a wide swath of the town. While I do not believe that the length of time someone calls this place home fairly defines a person's belonging here, I do believe that speaking for what a community desires requires more than words. This applicant has demonstrated a complete lack of interest, which has, in my opinion, bordered on disdain. In hearing concerns raised by neighbors who will be directly impacted by this project. They have promoted the granary as a return to the commerce that existed on Accord's Main Street in its heyday. Main Street was not then, and has never been, a booming destination town. Instead, it was and is a sleepy hamlet previously occupied by 2 general stores, a church, a bus garage, residences, and several businesses that supported agriculture, the old Anderson Mill included. The mill was not a tourist destination, a restaurant, a hotel, a bike shop, a pub, a co-work space. It did not have enormous parking or infrastructure requirements. It served farmers who visited it only a few at a time to pick up grain. What I see as this project has moved through its planning process is a design to completely and permanently alter the face of this hamlet, forever changing the way others live and work here. It flies in the face of the definition of community. I urge you to deny this application the letter of support, this applicant the letter of support they request, because it does not meet the spirit of the criteria in the guidelines, and the pending Article 78 should disqualify it completely. Thank you for your time.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
Hi, my name is Katie Nakłatarski. I live on Towpath Road in walking distance to downtown. Thank you for having this hearing. I am in favor of the town board passing a resolution finding that, quote, the proposed project is consistent with the municipality's local revitalization or urban development plan, unquote, as required and stated by the New York State Restore New York Communities Initiative Municipal Grant Program application. The town of Rochester's comprehensive plan states the following goals and objectives. Develop a hamlet revitalization program for suitable hamlets. Create community and cultural facilities integrated with commercial development in hamlet areas. Promote hiking, sightseeing, and other outdoor recreation-related businesses. Promote historic preservation as a source of economic development. Protect and preserve the town's historically significant buildings and sites in a manner that actively involves private owners of such properties. Provide for alternate means of transportation in addition to roads, including bicycle paths, trails, and walkways. I believe that these Town of Rochester comprehensive plan goals and objectives are consistent with the granary project plan as presented to the board and Town of Rochester community. In addition, I'd like to state that I think it is necessary that this grant application be submitted this year. I understand that there are a few concerns regarding this project still needing to be addressed, as others spoke about. And I do agree that any unresolved concerns ought to be remedied as deemed necessary. However, this grant can be submitted as those questions and concerns are running their course. I believe that it is vital to encourage the development of the granary as proposed by the current owners in order to preserve the wonderful buildings, to not have them sink into decay as would surely happen, or I'm supposing would happen, if this project does not go forward. Bring jobs and tax revenue to the area, bring culture, the arts and recreation to our hamlet and the town. And lastly, to serve as a hub, a social hub for families and individuals of the area. This is something in this age of documented social isolation, loneliness, and polarization that is sorely needed. And I'd also like to add that I grew up in a town where urban development, came through and kind of destroyed the town. And that happened all over the United States. I'm not saying that that happened here, but I'm saying that the government has played a role in putting money into towns, often to the detriment of those towns. And I think that it is the place of government to put in money, funds and taxpayer funds in order to help in the revitalization of towns. I think it's revitalization of towns is one of one of the most important things that we can do. I will also say that one of the owners of this proposed development has the market, and I think that the market, in my mind, haven't gone there over the years that it's been open, that they have really sought to have various price points so that people with range of economic ability are able to shop there. I'd also like to say, in terms of dialogue with community, that because of the process not allowing within meetings for there to be community feedback process, that was, besides what might happen out of here, that was a fault of the process. Since then, that process did happen with the zoning when it was requested, but previous to that, there was no ability to have question and answer within. And I think that was the fault of the process, not fault of the applicant, in that regard. And I'd also like to say that just from I haven't come to all the meetings, but a number of the meetings that I have come to, there have been residents who are in favor of it. I really have felt as if they needed to be careful, and more than considerate to those who neighbor the development. And I appreciate that the board lowered the decibel allowance for the noise. I think the septic has to be looked into, absolutely, and that's mandatory. But I think that the parking, it seems, haven't been taken care of. And then lastly, I think that it's a new day. We're not going to have the same types of commercial enterprises that we used to have, because we don't have this same, it's not the same world that it was. And that we need to, sorry.
That's not what I said.
Okay, sorry. I think we need, in my mind, we need to, bring in what is, part of our lives today. I just say that. And that's my statement. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? Yes.
Good evening, Joshua Stratton-Rainer. I'm the Deputy Director for Economic Development for Ulster County. I have been the project manager for the past several rounds of our county applications for Restore New York. Since counties became eligible to apply, starting with round 6. And this is round 9, so over the past several rounds, we've seen a variety of projects come before us, have supported successfully each round. We've had everything from mixed use, artist focused housing and flex commercial development in the city of Kingston, to the most recent round was out in Pine Hill, was really wonderful redevelopment of an old Catskill hotel in that hamlet. That's going to be a real gateway project for that hamlet. So we were excited to also encounter this project's request for support. I just wanted to note that, you know, again, this is a state agency led program. None of our local tax funds are going toward it. Any match requirement is coming from the applicant. All funds are coming from Empire State Development Corporation, which is an authority. It issues bonds primarily to fund its programs. So we are, you know, really excited to use our county's single application for projects that we see could have a really positive impact on the communities, especially looking outside of the city of Kingston, which has, you know, especially vibrant, you know, grants department that is able to handle a lot of their own work. But in other hamlets like this last project that we had in Pine Hill, the town just didn't have the capacity to take on a project of that scope itself. So, you know, we as the county really view our role there to come along and help support these applications. And so that's why we're here today. Again, this is, you know, fairly narrowly focused hearing intended to simply be focus on the application for state funds itself. And just wanted to say thank you for the time and the consideration. And we look forward to putting in an application. And then, you know, once that goes into the state next week, it's in the hands of the reviewers to decide on the merits of the project and whether or not to fund it. So just wanted to say that, and thank you very much.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? In the public hearing?
I'd be happy to just say a few words.
Okay, sure.
I don't want to take up too much time because I mean, I think people have heard a lot about this project at this point. I, you know, have, you know, to the point about taxes, totally heard this. The state has a certain amount of money that they're giving out year after year. A lot of this money has gone to municipalities for different restore kind of New York forward programs like Woodstock and Kingston. And we were excited and you know, honored that the county would work with us to apply on behalf of our project in the town of Rochester. But it's not affecting anybody's individual taxes because the amount is set, and if we apply and we win, we would receive it, and if we don't, somebody else will receive it. You know, concerning transparency and communication, you know, there were a few meetings where people said things, and I did make an effort to you know, speak with a number of people. I tried to get everybody who was there, who was against the project, to kind of hear their concerns directly. There were a lot of conversations, there were a lot of tours. That door is still open. Happy to, you know, in terms of concerns, neighbors, happy to chat with anybody at any time. So genuinely, feel free to see me after this meeting. If that's a conversation that anybody wants to have, because that's that door is actually open. And, in terms of the, the criteria for this particular grant, restoring towns. As far as the history of the town, we don't want to say anything inaccurate. We're just going off of, kind of what's written, Friends of Historic Rochester. As far as how bustling it was, I didn't write it, I wasn't here, but, the idea is to bring back, the town to a place where historic, will put it. And that's the mission that we're aligned with, and we hope that we can apply for the grant. Unclear if we'll get it, but we hope that we can win the grant on the merits. So if anybody wants to chat after this or make an appointment to chat some other time, I'll wait around after this meeting and we can chat.
Is there anyone else? So, Jay?
I would like the board to consider the definition of the word revitalize. This is not going to be comparable to what was, and we are all aware that times and things have changed. I really doubt that this is going to be a place for locals. I believe it's going to be a destination type of resort area, mini resort. With it's going to bring its own problems. Revitalization does not mean more traffic, more aggressive drivers, more litter, more noise. And I would gladly take to talk with one of the proprietors, because I am the closest neighbor, and never, since this has started, have any of them come to my door to talk. Never. And I live that far across the line from where this proposal is supposed to take place.
By the dialogue that I referred to in my letter that was requested was through council, and also was asked for a forum where there was a group of us with a group of the applicant and their consultants, so specific questions could be answered that were not answered in the review process. One-on-ones are not helpful.
One that came in today.
Oh, sure.
So this is from Anthony Crook. My family and I live at 15 Granite Road. Accord, the old creamery, direct neighbors to the granary. We've lived in the house since 2015. In general, we are in support of the project and excited and inspired by the applicant's plans. We feel they have assembled a great team and presented a very exciting plan. We wish them the best of luck with the project. The project seems like a good candidate to receive this grant. However, we are uncomfortable with the line from the application regarding activation of the O&W rail trail, which runs through the property. There has never been a rail trail on the property. The O&W line was abandoned in 1957, and the near 60 years since then, people have built homes along it, including ours, which is 15 feet from the abandoned line. Installing what is essentially a public footpath to run the entire length of our home would have a huge detrimental impact on us as well as our neighbor, Marcia Gibney. We've had many discussions with the town, the applicants, and their engineers regarding this. The result of this discussion were written into the EEO documents. The town board wrote the following resolution in their documents. The town board finds the O&W rail bed lies on this property. However, the town board is not seeking to continue the rail trail through this parcel at this time and notes any further consideration of such would require amendment to the site plan. The current town board is exploring trail through the property with this application. In a 2023 petition signed by 94 town residents contained a list of objections to the plans, one of them relating to the proposal trails. A proposed new bike trail and public footpath disrupts the existing amenities of adjoining residential properties when a less disruptive alternative plan can be identified. We would therefore prefer that this language regarding the trail be removed from the application. That's the only one.
Okay. So with that, I'll entertain this. I think everyone has had a chance to speak. That one and two, okay, so I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstain, the motion carries. Okay, great, so, we're gonna move on with our agenda. Oh, sure, okay. Gonna wait just a couple minutes. I'll get my agenda. So everyone has to vote. Aye on everything. Yeah, majority is two. Yeah, it's three, so if we have anyone that votes no on anything, motion fails. What they, oh. You're right.
Refill cake?
So I'm gonna get the agenda up so that people can see where we're at. Yep, there's some right in there. We just had the public hearing and, so now we're at the supervisor's financial report. So I have that in the agenda. So for the November revenue, general fund, $93,034.69. Highway fund, $6,738.88. The expenditures were pretty big last month. For general fund, we had $291,257.61. Highway fund, $190,842.64. Street lighting fund, $651.84. Capital fund, $54,833.50. Ambulance fund, $141,750. I have that check with me. We haven't delivered that yet. Escrow fund, $101,544.41. And then the approved abstract that we had for November is there, listed there. So for supervisor's report, I thought I would give the board an update on what we've been working on in my office. So our new health insurance, the plan year starts December 1st. So last month we and this month, spent a lot of time making sure all the deductions were correct. And are now working on, making sure our retiree insurance policy and what's owed for the premium by the retirees is clear. So in doing that work, one of the things that I realize is that information does not exist in any one place. So we're creating spreadsheets where we document, you know, starting year, what policy or plan, you know, because everyone has a different thing, where that comes from. And then, that's called a census. I learned today. So we're currently working on that, and, we completed that for all current employees, but are actively working on that, for retirees. I'd like to thank our town clerk for helping me with that, because, it's a mix of records dating back like 20 years or more. So, we have that. We are, I don't know if the board remembers, but we, signed up for ADP time and attendance so that our, paid time off accruals will not be held on cardstock. That has been quite a process because we have a very complicated, time off policy. We have lots of different categories and rules. So ADP has that 100% set up, and we are deciding on a launch date. So I'll be meeting with all the department heads, reviewing what it entails to transition to this new system and seeing when the best start date is, and then we'll upload everyone's accruals. And then as on that day, they'll start accruing in ADP. So that has a whole, you know, the department head approves the time cards. We do that now on paper. We have the ability now to do that through a portal. So it'll digitize it, but then all employees can also go and they'll make their requests for time off and for use of their PTO that way too. So looking towards doing that transition. And we are also, there was one other thing I was going to report on. But I didn't make a note of it, so I'll move on to my next agenda item. So updates. I'm just waiting for the closeout of the New York Rising, so that just hasn't happened yet. I haven't received the check payment yet. I believe the right-of-way acquisitions have been underway for our Boyce Mill Bridge project. That's the only thing that we're waiting on in order to put the project out to bid. We have 2 other Bridge New York projects, and we do need to assign the engineering consultant for those. So I was going to ask Councilman Coleman if you could assist in that process like you did for the first round. And I'll coordinate with the highway department on that. But I just received the packet that we need in order to make those selections.
So you want to interview firms?
There's a whole 20-page guidance document on what we need to do. And I know we have one firm that we've worked very closely with, but it sounded like they maybe weren't I think we're still streaming. I think the camera just keeps. We do have an engineering firm we work very closely with, so I think it's just a matter of reviewing the selection process and making sure we follow the proper procedure for those grant opportunities. And yeah, we'd like to interview firms It doesn't like being so far away, but. Okay. And then for the ARPA parks, we're having the water tested. So it just turned off again. We can leave it off for now, I think, since we're doing the screen share. But I'm just waiting on the water tests for the water treatment system that we're going to put in, which will probably be not RV, UV treatment system. Other updates. So I had hoped to show up with the zoning code maps that I had printed, but it turns out there was an issue with the printer, so I don't have them. But this whole process of passing two overhaul chapters of our code, I've learned a lot. And I just remembered my other update that I have for you guys. So I've learned a lot about that. I am working with eCode 360 on getting those two chapters so that they will be present on our eCode site. I want to take the board and the public through how best to find our new code. So, oops. Okay. So I'm going to go to the town website. I'm going to show you guys because it is not easy. And I've learned a lot, and it's not an instant process. And I wish I could just do it, but I can't. So this is the town website. If you go to codes and ordinances, we have a contract with general code that our code is housed on eCode 360. This is for the town of Rochester. So typically all adopted codes should just be here. They are searchable and their index, it's all chapters of our code. With a couple of exceptions, but if you go down, you'll see chapter 140 zoning and 125 subdivision of land. Right now, when you click on those links, it's the old code. This gavel to the right means that since this site was created, or since they call it was codified, chapters have been amended. And so that gavel communicates that you should go to the new laws section. So if you go to the new laws section, this is everything that has been passed since our code was codified on eCode 360, which happened in 2019. So there are 40 laws listed. And all of those are effective on top of whatever's there. So, however, a lot of those are edits to chapter 140. And so instead of going through and paying for them to comb through everything and integrate it, they're just going to publish chapter 140. That'll be the fastest way to get chapter 140 up there and subdivision.
Which is inclusive of these laws or something.
Of the ones that affect 140.
Right, okay.
We had a whole project that got started in 2019
To consolidate.
to consolidate. It got stalled, and the last correspondence was last year. So that was to get everything upgraded, but that is still months and months away from being finalized because they do a comb through and find inconsistencies and typos and things like that. And that all gets fixed all at once. So that was what that was. So we're pausing that. This is a great update, isn't it? So we're gonna pause that and, but right now, our code as adopted exists under new laws. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll find local law 5 of 2024 subdivision of land. So that is our adopted subdivision chapter. And local law 6 of 2024, that is chapter 140 zoning. The appendices are in this document. So the schedule of use chart and the schedule of district regulations are in that one PDF. They are unable to post the maps because the files are too large, so I'm working on that. And then this is the zoning amendment that we passed for that single parcel. Ulster County Parcel Viewer has been updated, so anyone wanting to know what the zoning map looks like now can view that on Ulster County Parcel Viewer. So that is my code update. So go to new laws and scroll to the bottom until I'm able to get that. It does cost money. It will be about $6,000 to have those two laws integrated onto the site. So that,
Just putting them in there.
yes. Okay, so that is that. I think I'm still back to the agenda. The other thing that I'm working on, and I think I might have put this at the bottom to discuss with the board, but we are working on application software solutions for the planning board and the code enforcement office. And so one of the things I've been down exploring our options. One of them is actually the same company that owns General Code, and it's also the International Code Council. So all of that is integrated. And then there's a couple others that we're looking at. So I'll be bringing those, that will have to be a quote. The selection for our procurement policy will be through the quotes. So that was my other update for you guys. Then for, oh, I'm sorry, I keep scrolling the wrong direction. Upcoming meetings. Upcoming meetings. We have the December audit meeting is going to be our final business meeting of the month. So that is where I will be bringing those budget. I have to do my budget closeout. So there'll be like a lot of budget modifications at that meeting. Any other things, payments, closeouts that we need to do, we'll have to do at that meeting. So it is an audit meeting, but that's going to be also a business meeting. So it'll be longer than our typical audits. Then tonight, we need to schedule our organizational meeting because that needs to happen that same week. So just to prepare you, our audit meeting we scheduled on the 30th. Our organizational meeting needs to happen as soon as possible. So I was gonna have that be the first Thursday of the month. So that's what I have on the agenda, but that'll mean that we have 2 meetings that week. So heavy week. And we can look at that if you guys want to.
You mean Thursday the 2nd?
Yeah. Okay,
Thursday the 2nd, and when is the audit?
the 30th, which is a Monday. So I think we rescheduled it from the 26th because of
Right, yeah,
Hanukkah.
I didn't delete it out of my phone. but
I didn't
wasn't
either, and
sure. I thought-
It created some confusion because I thought it was the 26th, and we had rescheduled it at our organizational meeting for the 30th. So that just means 2 meetings that month.
So does Hanukkah start on Christmas this year?
It does. I don't know why we rescheduled it. Maybe we thought people would be out of town. but we did,
Because
or we made it for the Monday.
the 30th is still Hanukkah.
Mhm. It's 8 days, but it's the, yeah,
Math, right?
well, so, but we need to have, we need to have a meeting at the end of the month. And we need to have a meeting at the beginning of the month. If you guys want to reschedule it, we can do that during the resolutions. So, and then we will be discussing our audit or our organizational meeting agenda at the end of our meeting tonight. And then, just event wise, we have, the senior holiday brunches tomorrow. So that's why there's all this great stuff. Okay. Tax collector, report.
For the month of November, town clerk, $53,501.82 was collected. We're working on closing out our year-end reports and, yeah, trying to finishing up any of our projects from the year that we haven't gotten to, but it seems like it's just gonna trickle on to next year. Anyway, tax collection 2025 bills have been ordered and, we plan to have them out no later than the first business day in January. We do have a new program that's being implemented that we are just starting to practice on. We had a 2-hour training on it and, the girls in the office have been working on it each day, so. Other than that, I have nothing else to share.
Did your credit card reader come?
It did.
And have you used it
Oh,
yet?
yes, it's nice.
Oh,
because
great.
We did everything manually.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of work, saving a lot of work.
Great, and you can add more postage now, but
thank
it's only $1,000.
It's okay.
But you can do it
Okay.
now,
All right,
so you
great.
can just keep loading it in there.
Sounds good.
And then for, let's say, highway superintendent report, I have something to read from the highway department. And then also, I would like to give just a small update on our, highway superintendent Jeff Fry, who has been out, and has been in rehabilitation and is expected to return home at the, on the 23rd. So that's good news. And we wish him a good recovery. Then the highway department had, I'm gonna read this. Some seasonal reminders. Now that winter is fully upon us, it's important to be reminded of a few things in regards to snow removal and winter driving. So number one, during and after snow events, highway agencies in the course of plowing receive phone calls regarding damage to mailboxes, either from snow plows directly or from the force of snow being thrown by plows. If such damage is indeed caused by snow removal, it is not done intentionally. It is, however, an unfortunate consequence of snow removal. As far as the particular agencies replacing damaged mailboxes, it must be pointed out that there's no statutory or legal authority requiring them to do so. In fact, under Section 319 of the New York State Highway Law, mailboxes are considered highway obstructions and are only allowed in the right-of-way as a convenience to the owner. As it is understood, they're required for mail delivery. So that's just one thing. The highway crews do their best to avoid mailboxes, but oftentimes visibility, oncoming traffic, and heavy snow work against them. The best method to protect your mailbox during the winter months is to ensure it is properly attached to the post and to keep the mailbox assembly simple to limit impact surface area for plowed snow. Over the past few years, the practice of plowing or depositing snow from private driveways or private property onto the highway has increased significantly. especially after roadways are cleared and snow has been pushed back behind the shoulders of highway agencies, by highway agencies. This is a dangerous practice and is strictly prohibited under section 1219 of the Vehicle and Traffic Law and section 214 of the New York State Highway Law. Depositing snow or ice onto the roadway or shoulder may result in a serious accident, and the person or persons responsible may be liable. Police agencies and highway agencies will issue written warnings prior to issuing tickets. And then they had, those were the two things that, that I wanted to share. Just, I think that's a helpful reminder not to shovel your snow into the road after it's been plowed. It's okay to do it. Okay. So next up, we have department updates, liaison reports. Kate, you want to start with that?
So the HPC is still working on updating the reconnaissance, survey that will probably go well into next year. They are going out and checking every individual parcel that is on the historic reconnaissance survey, which is about that thick. They're doing about 10 houses at a time, but they're going to check to see if there's still structures standing, any changes that have been done to them so we can update the reconnaissance. And they continue to monitor any historical homes that are on the market. And so they're doing a fantastic job, and they're already starting their plans for next year for the Hamlet Talk series. They will not meet this month. They're actually going to have a potluck luncheon together on Monday, and they won't meet in December, but they will meet again either January or February.
Great. Charlotte?
All right. So the Recreation Department is proud to report that this year's Thanksgiving luncheon served 181 meals to the community, thanks to all volunteers and donors who made that possible. The beginning of December has started off strong with the youth holiday party on Friday the 6th, followed by the holiday wreath workshop on December 9th. Both events were a huge success. We would like to personally thank Santa and Mrs. Claus for taking time out of their busy schedules to be here at our youth holiday party, and Marshall's Tree Farm for donating greens for the wreath workshops. This Friday, December 13th, will be the senior holiday pancake breakfast at the community center. It begins at 10 a.m. Doors will be open at 9:45 a.m. Please call 845-626-2115 to sign up. The Mary Lee Friend of Youth Award will be presented at this event. Starting January 2nd, we will be taking registration for the adult paint classes that will take place on January 27th. Call the rec department for details. And the Town of Rochester Rec Department would like to wish the entire community a safe, happy, and healthy holiday season. I don't have an update from elder care. The winter months tend to be their busier one, though, normally with calls for assistance for if it's icy and things like that, but we're probably not too far into that season yet for them. And then the Housing Committee are still working very strongly and diligently with our consultants at HAC for the housing site inventory process. We got a presentation last Tuesday from Tiffany and Kevin, our consultants, that I'd like to kind of do a redo of presentation to the town board of for this. It's almost like a key of the town for the different areas that we identified during the 3-hour driving tour I gave the consultants on Heritage Day. So it was 209, and then we're referring to 209 as like the spine of town, and then all of the different side streets where there's development, like pretty much what tracks what used to be the hamlets, like Queens Highway, Sampsonville, Whitfield, Matacahonks, things like that, are like the ribs or the tentacles coming off of the spine. So they gave us a really generic key of what, if it's pro housing or not of the area based on environmental, agriculture, just the different things from our zoning code, whether or not they're pro housing oriented for those specific areas, just as an overview, like layman's looking at it as a whole, before they take a deeper dive into 2 actual sections that we pick from town to do the actual like deep dive housing site review on. Because they're only able to do the 2 areas. So they've been working with that with our consultants on those. They have a meeting, their meeting this coming week is going to be on Tuesday, the 17th instead of Wednesday, the 18th. They had to change it due to availability of members. And there's something else. Oh, they would really like us to advertise so that we can get the word out,
Yeah.
because technically all of their terms end at the end of this month for the entire committee, and I don't think they all want to leave, but they want to make sure that we have some applicants in place so that we can make sure that they're filled with how much momentum they have going on this project. They don't want to lose any by not having enough members, or if any members decide to bow out in the new year, you know, so. And yeah.
That reminds me, they were asking questions about mapping. Do you know if they ever got in touch with anyone from the county or if they still needed? See if they, I was talking with Claire, they had some questions. And if they haven't gotten a response from the county, then
I think that I know what. They had questions about some like acre minimums in different areas after the presentation of like
Yeah.
really specific things, so I'll touch base with her.
yeah, if they need something.
To see if they need anything with it.
Okay.
Thanks, people.
I'll be quick. Constabulary, so in terms of calls, 18 direct calls for service, other duties in November. 11 neighbor quality of life, 4 resident traffic complaints, 1 environmental complaint. 0 new building department violations, 0 court cases open, 8 court proceedings remain open, and 0 court proceedings closed. ZBA continuing to not have meetings, although there's one scheduled for, I think it's the 19th. So they're gonna have that this month, and I know we have the EMS contracts for discussion today. So glad to see that's moving along. And then Spectrum, we got another request from them about payment. I sent them a note basically saying, can you just confirm that? Basically, I was looking back in the contract that they have to. I can't remember the exact term of art, but I think it's activated or something along those lines. So I just wanted something in writing that says we've activated these zones and these addresses. I know there's one that they were still talking to the owner about running something underground, but Medicons is done. I haven't talked to anyone on St. Joseph or Cherrytown. Cherrytown was where there was one that I'm still outstanding. So once they send us that, I think we already signed that, so we can.
With that, I think you might be ready for another department, since you have brought us to that, you have done
That's
the
okay.
duty.
I appreciate the thought, but why, do you have something? in
I
mind,
have
Supervisor?
some departments that need a liaison. My holdovers are. Well, what do you want to know? On the agenda tonight, we have, I thought we could do a little bit of a workshop if you guys were up for it. I have the fee schedule for 3 of my departments that I'd like to update. The camera keeps turning off.
Is it just gonna stay on?
So you can like be in charge of that, but when it goes off, you can't control it with that remote.
How do you turn it up?
You go into the Zoom meeting and you turn it on. So just reviewing, the fee schedule, preparing for the organizational meeting for all the departments. And the planning board, the passage of the new code it creates this almost chaotic space where you have to figure out where applications are and are they subject to the new code? Are there these changes? And then who's supposed to make that decision? So there's all month they were working to get clear on that, and you can watch the meetings and hear some of their process, but everyone's been working really hard and the new board, everyone was at the meeting this week. So it's a full board, with an alternate, and, they're working very diligently to process the applications, understand the new code, and all of that. Like I mentioned before, we're looking at software. I think I've basically been giving those updates. The ECC and the Climate Smart committee could really use a liaison. Those are two that I haven't been able to really be able to report to the town board about what's going on, but we'll look at that at our organizational meeting. And that's about it. Public comment. Is there, do we have anyone on the meeting? So this is the public. Oh, okay. This is the public comment portion of our meeting. So if anyone would like to address the board.
I understand you want to do away with the chief of constables. I disagree with that. He does a real good job. He's been there 14 years as a chief. He shouldn't be knocked down to just a constable or anything.
Okay,
Does a lot of work
okay,
for the town.
thank you.
And then I got another one.
Oh, okay.
Why can't we have 5 members here? They're being paid to be council people. They should be dubbed.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? And
I do.
we've got some letters that.
Okay. First one, is from Sue Brook. I'm writing today about Chief Constable Miller, Rich Miller. That is the title he has had when I met him, and the title that he has looked up to regardless of the way the town board has treated him. There was no need to remove or change his title and then require that he continue to fulfill the responsibilities of a chief constable. He has responded professionally and courteously to calls. He has continued to submit the mandatory New York State paperwork required of the constabulary. He has handled scheduling and any other administrative duties required. The previous supervisor, both being purposely obtuse and unprofessional, sought to undermine the security of our town in part by creating unnecessary paperwork and conflict, and perhaps the hope that he could dismantle the constabulary, leaving our town vulnerable. I support Chief Constable Miller not only because he meets and exceeds the expectations of his position, but also because he's invested in the people of our town. Be it the elder care program, community trainings in Narcan, or finding ways to provide our town at no cost to taxpayer, he is always professional and in all services. His dedication to our town and his profession is commendable. Please put the matter of this title to rest by reinstating Rich Miller as Chief Constable. Thank you for your attention to this matter. B. Hagen Depew. Please read this into the record. After reading tonight's agenda meeting, I see that constables are again at the bottom of the discussion concerns Rich Miller's title. I must ask why. How many years do you have to plan to make this a major topic of discussion? Isn't it 5 years enough? It started while I was on the town board with Supervisor Baden, and it continues to date. Supervisor Nowling, I understand that all departments, with the exception of the highway department, are under the supervisor's auspices. However, you as supervisor do not run the recreation department. Ashley does. The same goes for the building department. The constables should be handled in the same manner. Supervisor Nowling, do you or the town board know the laws governing the constabulary in New York State? Knowing these laws is important. Why not give the person with the most knowledge the continued title of chief constable? He knows and performs all necessary responsibilities to fulfill the DCJS and civil service requirements. He goes above and beyond those descriptions. He holds training sessions for officers from other towns and our town. The money from these training classes offsets and sometimes exceeds the expenses of the constabulary for the budget year. He works with the elder care program to do welfare checks as necessary for the elderly of the town. He takes calls constantly for neighbor-to-neighbor complaints. He turns in monthly constabulary reports to the town board. He prepares the annual budget for the constables. Why not continue the title he's held for many years? It certainly has been earned. And the final one, also from Z. Hagen Depew, regarding the Cohonson Accord First Aid discussion. As a seated member of the Cohonson Accord First Aid Squad Oversight Committee, imagine my surprise when I received a bill for $250 for lift assist for my partner after he had fallen. According to the billing, this bill is not paid by Medicare and therefore cannot be submitted to my high-paid secondary medical insurance. This new billing upsets me tremendously for the whole community. If this is a new state mandated billing for late 2024, the income was not reported on the financial statements from KFAS to the town, underestimating their income for 2025. KFAS has asked for approximately $195,000 in tax revenue, which goes into taxpayers' bill for January. As the town has many elderly people who can barely keep up with their expenses, how will they handle another expense that does not go through Medicare to be offset? I want the town board to be aware of this new charge, as it is yet another financial burden on the town's elderly people. I also believe that since there is a seated committee for KFAS along with the town board, we should look into this charge and see if anything can be done or amended. That's it.
Town board, or is there anyone on?
There wasn't, where we show up as a participant, right?
Yes.
There's only one. It's just one. We're still sharing, should we stop?
You can stop if you'd like. Well, the resolutions are, it might be nice to be up there. So town board member time. Would any of our 3 town board members like to say anything during town board member time? Nope. Going once,
Tonight.
going twice? Okay, let's move into resolution. Gonna pull up the minutes so I can insert the right dates.
Moving to effect, you know. Thank you.
Words of trouble. Okay, great. Oh, okay, I'm gonna read off all these dates. So I'll make the motion that the town of Rochester accepts the minutes of the October 1st, 2024 workshop meeting, October 10th, 2024 public hearing, October 10th, 2024 regular business meeting, October 14th, 2024 special meeting, October 18th, 2024 budget meeting, October 22nd, 2024 special meeting, October 29th, 2024 special meeting and audit, November 7th, 2024 workshop meeting, November 7th, 2024 preliminary budget public hearing, November 7th, 2024 tax cap override public hearing, November 14th, 2024 town board meeting, November 19th, 2024 special meeting, November 26th, 2024 audit meeting as presented.
Second.
Any discussion?
Thanks, Kate.
Thank you, Kate. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. So my next motion is, I'm just gonna get it back up for that. Oh, okay, yeah, I have the ones, I have ones that are, not. I'm a little bit of a, here they are. Okay, so I'm gonna list these off. So the town of Rochester Town Board accepts the following donations. $176 in cash donations for the Thanksgiving luncheon. $200 from the Levine Living Trust for the Thanksgiving luncheon. $200 from Marlene Dunn for the Thanksgiving luncheon. $250 from the Rochester Residents Association for the Thanksgiving luncheon. $192.65 from St. Polly's Textile. And $50 from Mel and Elaine Tapper for the Thanksgiving luncheon. And also we'd like to recognize the donation of a pallet of pumpkins for the after-school program and our local senior citizens from Saundersville Farm, and the donation of turkeys from Gary Palmer. And the donation of Christmas tree greens for the wreath workshop from Marshall's Trees. Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. So. So we've been streaming, right? Have you guys checked to make sure that? I'm just gonna check. It just doesn't like how far away you are.
Yeah, but it's moving left to right, but not like that.
That's us. The floor. Okay, great, huh?
New battery?
It's always been like that. You just have to get close to it, but that's why I always walk up to it. You're hitting the,
No, I'm just kidding.
it might need a new battery, but that's usually, it's
Just leave the nice.
a little
speed up.
sticky.
Looks like the woman.
As long as it can.
Yeah.
What?
I don't think the battery's.
It's only turning one way. Okay, let's go.
Okay, so, resolution C, authorizing a contract, and payment. Does anyone else wanna talk a little tonight?
Scroll down, I presented. I
You want me to read it? Recommended resolution, the town of Rochester.
Or are you gonna?
I'll make a motion that the town of Rochester Town Board authorizes the town supervisor to sign a contract as presented with Cohunson Accord First Aid Squad in the amount of $141,750 be paid upon a fully executed contract for emergency first aid services for the Rochester Ambulance District for the period of January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2024.
Second,
So just any discussion from the board?
I'm happy we finally have gotten to the point to write the check for them.
Yeah, so this is for the 2024 contract. We worked with the squads and our advisory committee to come up with the 2024 contract. And I will fully execute this tomorrow I can sign it tonight, but I'm gonna bring it to the squad. They'll sign it and then I can give them the check tomorrow.
Right.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Appointments,
I make a motion, the town of Rochester Town Board, on the request of the highway superintendent, confirms the appointment of Patrick Davis to the position of seasonal MEO for the period December 1st, 2024 to February 28th, 2025, at the rates of pay established per hour for all hours worked.
I'll second.
any discussion? I worded it like that because we are straddling 2 years. So the hourly wage will be this year and then next year for that. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstain, motion carries. We're tabling E and F. So then resolution G. Do you want to scroll down, Michael, or up? Do that too.
Ooh,
Oh, you're not screen sharing.
I know you are the worst in a white. You ever had.
Do you want me to do it?
what is going on?
I'm pretty good at multitasking.
What are you doing?
I'm just gonna see if I can.
Share. This one? There. Are you hitting the right button? You wanna check what button you're hitting?
You're right, it's not.
I am right. I wasn't hitting the right button.
Okay,
Unbelievable. Why is it so sensitive?
okay. So this is, so I'll make a motion, for endorsing the County of Ulster submit an application to the Empire State Development Corporation, Restore New York Communities Initiative, Round 9 for rehabilitation of an existing commercial property. Whereas the County of Ulster is eligible for grant funding under Round 9 of the Restore New York Communities Initiative Municipal Grant Program, and whereas the county has considered proposals that qualify for funding under the program and selected one project to be included in an application that will be submitted to Empire State Development Corporation as follows. Redevelopment of the Accord Granary to Towpath Road, Accord, New York, 12404. The project will rehabilitate the vacant mixed-use properties, several buildings totaling 16,671 square feet to support commercial ventures, including lodging, hospitality, and recreation, as well as staff housing. And whereas the county's grant application requires endorsement by the local governing body of the municipality in which the project is located as a condition of the application. And whereas the town of Rochester finds that the project is consistent with existing local plans. And whereas the proposed financing is appropriate for the project. And whereas the project will facilitate effective and efficient use of existing and future public resources, so as to promote both economic development and preservation of community resources. And the project develops and enhances infrastructure and or other facilities in a manner that will attract, create, and sustain employment opportunities in the town of Rochester. And whereas the town board held a public hearing today, Thursday, December 12th at 6:30 p.m. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town of Rochester hereby endorses a County of Ulster application for Restore New York funding for the Accord Granary to Towpath Road, Accord, New York, 12404, to be received and administered by the county in accordance with all applicable rules and regulations established by Empire State Development Corporation.
A second,
Any discussion?
yeah.
Okay.
I appreciate everyone's comments today, and I think, you know, I share some of the concerns. I'm not exactly enthusiastic about taxpayer funds going private ventures. You know, I would like to see projects being funded that are available to the community at large and that are more engaged with public works type projects. I think at the same time, you know, we don't get to pick what private landowners do with their properties. And we have no control over what happens to those buildings. I think a lot of people agree that structures, historic structures like that, and preserving some of those landmark buildings in the community is important. And if someone else were to buy the property, there's no guarantee that those buildings would stay there. They could very easily knock them down and put something else there. I think it's also important that we kind of work with our counterparts at the county level They've evaluated this project. I think it's something that is worth moving forward with, and I think we want to be able to partner with them on other projects in the future. So I think it's important that we kind of show our support for their efforts and that we help work with them to kind of bring these types of grants and funding to Ulster County and to the community. This is just a vote to let them apply. We're not saying that they're going to get this money. This is just a necessary step for them to do that. And I do think, getting back to my earlier point, you know, there was some discussion about other possible grants that could be available to this project. And I had concerns with those grants because they did have a requirement for more extensive input from the community, and I think that is a valid concern. But I think in this case, you know, this aligns much better with kind of the spirit of what these monies are designed for. So, you know, despite the initial reservations, I think, you know, supporting the county and their decision to want to apply for this is something that makes sense to me.
Anything else?
Yeah, Michael, I resonate and agree with a lot of what you're saying. I don't also agree with, you know, private capitalists using taxpayer money for funding projects. Especially once you spent half the amount of that project on another parcel across the street from this project. I have strong concerns of having an active potential litigation before us of the project's determination. I am abstained from that though, so I don't know what steps we're at in that process, from the Article 78. And I am concerned with, I don't want to not show support, to the county for trying to secure these funds for these types of projects in our town, at all. I do, though, share the same concern as the one letter that we got that Kate read in. That it was very explicitly stated that the rail trail was not going to be explored, expanded whatsoever at this point in time. From the applicants in front of us, from when they were in front of the planning board, it was in the EEO language that the author of the letter had written. So I personally would not be comfortable signing it because that's not a part of what was with that sentence in the application, because that wasn't approved in our zoning uses and in our determination. And as a grant writer, I take following what is put out by the funders, that the process has to be followed properly and in a very ethical manner. And since that was not actually approved, as someone who's like seeking national certification in grant writing, and its ethical process, I wouldn't, unless that sentence is removed, be able to be comfortable voting on it or not, if that makes sense. I would prefer that sentence be removed, or we can vote on it contingent of that sentence stating the rail trail expansion.
Do you have that language in the application with you?
2 seconds.
What I have is a slightly different thing. So that while you find that, because we can amend the resolution if you guys would like. So there's 2 things. One, this project is whatever is the approved project. I did clarify that there can't be any amendments. There's no like authority of the grant funding to override any of the approvals. So
Of the EEO, you're saying.
or of the site plan approval.
Right.
So if it wasn't in the site plan, if it wasn't in the EEO, nothing is overriding our zoning code. This is just a funding opportunity. So if there was something in the grant language that alluded, you know, if we want to make sure our resolution makes it clear that we're supporting the project as it was approved. But it doesn't have any impact. There's no like authority happening through the funding that wouldn't have to go through the proper channels if there was a change. I did check with counsel about pending litigation and was reassured that there's no issue if if that litigation were to stop something with the project, it would stop something with the project. Us endorsing the county to apply for grant funding wouldn't change any procedural process that might occur. But that is not going to be resolved before this application is due. So, I did ask about that, and I think we can look at that.
That's right, the end of the sentence, where it says, the sentence says, after completions, the buildings will house a 15-room inn, all season restaurant, house, staff housing, and a bike/repair rental sales shop to support climate positive transportation and activation of the O&W Rail Trail, which runs through the property. It should end at transportation, and activation of the O&W Rail Trail is what I have an issue with. That's the part that was specifically put in the determination that it was not going to be pursued, it was not
Yeah,
going to be happening, it was not approved on the site plan that we saw or in any way for that, so.
and that's the letter of intent that the county submitted
That is
that
what.
was due ahead of the grant application.
Yeah, so that was already mentioned in the letter of intent, so that was already put in here, so I also have personally, it's a red flag to me that we're not able to see the actual application or anything yet for this, I don't tend to love approving things I don't get to read first. Because that's one sentence in a paragraph, that was their letter of intent of something that wasn't approved from the project. And a whole grant, especially one for this amount of funding, is gonna be 10 to 20 of pages of information and the scope of work and things of the project, and I just, yeah, if the letter of intent already made it clear that that was the activation of the O&W Rail Trail was potential from this project, that already kind of misled the funders, because that's not in the determination. And it specifically says that that will not happen in the determination, so the part of it being that it has to be concurrent in the determination and project or with our zoning code, for me, like, I have a big issue with, especially with I mean, I'm the only one here who voted no on the original projects from the same issues that are still being brought up now with the project that weren't addressed, so, yeah, I'm just concerned with things being left in or not put in, of the application that we're signing off on. I don't, yeah, I personally need more time, I think, to think about it too than just tonight instantly voting on it, but if you guys want to vote, don't get me to vote.
Yeah, I think they
Need
they need it, so we can, so do you want me to add, do you want me to add something to say that we support it as it pertains to the approved project?
Yeah, I'm fine with that language, I think. I agree that they can't supersede what we've done statutorily or what the planning board has decided in terms of site plan. Statutorily in terms of creating the EO, so I think there's no concern I have that they can deviate from that. I understand your concern that, you know, applying for it, having language in there, so if we want to include a generic statement that says as approved, we can do that. If we want to say specifically like removal from that, we can do that too. I don't know what you would, if you would feel comfortable, if there's something you would feel comfortable stating in the resolution that would make you comfortable with
I
it.
don't know, maybe it's like we support that we support it as long as it stays compliant with all determinations of the original EPO documentation.
I think that's reasonable.
Cause that was the language about the rail trail that was in our finding, where we had that like multi-step, you know.
I think the appropriate place would be in between. in between the, the second and third whereas, we could add a whereas saying that something about the process. Or in the end, then now therefore be it resolved, we could say we endorse the application, as, and then put the language that you just said there.
Probably do it right after. Here.
Yeah.
Source of funding here and then.
Yeah.
say compliance with all determinations.
Yeah. So you guys want to add it there? What was the language that you said, Michael? Or the you said, Sean?
I said. So long as the project. Stays within and follows. All determination. And all scopes. of
Or-
What
determination.
about on the condition that the project adheres to all requirements of the
EEO determination.
determination and site plan approvals?
Rochester hereby endorses a county Gloucester application for restore for Aqua Granary 2 Path Road. Comma. How, insofar as. Or so long as. Insofar as the project adheres to the EEO approval and site plan approval. What do you think?
I think that works.
So far as? Or as that? Because they'd have, I mean, we know that no matter what, if anything changed, they'd have to go back before the town board.
Yeah.
For this project, but. And we're not gonna approve the rail trail going.
We say that. No. No undecided uses in the project can be applied for. Like so that they can't apply for something outside of.
Well, I think what we're trying to say is we endorse, well, what we're saying in this resolution is that we, the town board, endorse Ulster County applying for funding on behalf of the project as it was approved by us and by the planning board. That's what we're saying. We're not, so we which did not include the rail trail. So if we want to say that specifically, we could say something specifically about the rail trail. But
Maybe including but not limited to the activation of the OMW rail trail on the property. And then that. Can be the.
so as long as.
But that's already in the EEO, isn't it?
It is.
So if you're already saying that we're sticking to the rules of
then
the
hey.
EEO, I would think that would cover that.
Yeah, I think we're covered.
All right. Cool.
To the approval and the site plan. Insofar as the project appears to the approval and the site plan. Or we could say, restore funding for the Aqua Granary to Towpath Road as the project was approved.
As approved by.
As
As
approved in the
approved by-
EEO approval.
In
So,
EEO
as
process and site plan. Right.
EEO decision.
Yeah, EEO decision, you're right.
And so.
I was like, wait a minute, I was like, one of the
Okay.
words is wrong there.
So I'll make an amendment, because we had a motion and a second, so I'm gonna motion to amend the resolution. After the zip code 12404 to add. As the project was approved in the EEO decision and the site plan approval. Comma.
And to be received and administered by the county.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Aye. the amendment passes, so. On to the resolution, so I'll make a motion to, I'll make a motion for the resolution as we just amended it.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
No.
My motion fails. We all have to vote for everything tonight. Because there's only 3 of us. Okay, so the appropriation of American Rescue Plan funds. I'll make the motion that the Town of Rochester Town Board appropriates American Rescue Plan funds provided to the town in the amount of $128,011.91, classified as lost revenue for reporting purposes.
Second.
Any discussion?
This is the last of
Yes, and we have to
that
do
we have
this,
to
or
do,
we
right?
have to
This is
give
the
it
last
away.
thing we have to do, and then, but all the rest has been good, everything's settled, filed, right?
Yeah, the filing happens in April, but yes. Yeah, we have to appropriate it by,
I just mean that there's not gonna be like a mystery dollar amount that like
correct.
we haven't somehow tried, okay,
Yeah.
I'm fine with it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, motion carries. All right, so scheduling the organizational meeting, the Town of Rochester Town Board sets the 2025 organizational meeting for the Town of Rochester Town Board to be held January 2nd, 2025 at 6:30 PM at the Harold Lipton Community Center, and request the town clerk post legal notice.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, motion carries. Okay, moving on to the ambulance improvement districts. So I just wanted to get a plan for the contract completion. We wanted to extend the contracts by the end of the year. So that means that by, I think basically we really just have the 30th, and maybe at our organizational meeting, we'd be able to but, we have, so working backwards from that, if we were to be able to vote on offering the contracts, we'd have to have solid working drafts circulated to the board that we could review at the meeting on the 30th. And then offer those contracts if we wanted to make any edits
Yeah,
then.
I didn't see. From what I remember on my first skim through, I didn't see many edits I had questions for Mary Lou, and I don't think Mary Lou had many on Marbletown, right? Did she already review them?
I don't think she's reviewed Marbletown because I just sent that. I
That
just
one
got
we just
that.
got today? Oh, was it 2024? I'm thinking she reviewed for KFAS recently.
Yeah, that
That
one
one that she
was
had
the
sent that,
2024
okay.
that.
Yeah, I didn't see like a ton of like red flag, anything that seemed like big overhaul changes, so could we maybe send comment? Or any questions like next week and try to make it so that we can get like by Tuesday or something. So we can
Yes,
get,
so
or a date that you pick so we can get stuff circled back.
so our next meeting is on the 30th, so I think if we wanted to take a week for board comments, and then I could compile that and send things to Mary Lou.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah, you have 2 weeks before that.
2.5. It's a luxurious amount of time.
It is. I feel even better about our proposal. And I realize it's more than 1.5 weeks.
I did make a little tasks section. If you want to take notes in that document,
In what, in here?
or I can do it.
I'm sure.
Action items. Town board to submit contract comments to supervisor by 12/19. Um. We do have the comments from the ambulance improvement district for the Rochester district, but there was only one that really related to the contract itself.
Yes.
So did you guys want to review those at all or discuss those at all?
Same thing, if we want to just get any comments back by the 19th.
Okay, we could ask.
Yeah, like include them in,
Okay.
because I didn't really have too much for.
Okay. So then I'd like to, I guess. We'll want the squad to review. Yeah, there's no way we're gonna get them to sign it by the first. Cause they'll need to review, give us comments.
Yeah, their board will have to review and see if we have any edits to it, which I'm sure.
I guess we can offer the contract. I guess we could let them know that we'll get them a version, we'll offer it, and if they wanna.
Should we have the goal to be at least to offer the contracts on the 30th, you know what I mean? Like, even if they don't get signed that exact day, like, we're comfortable
Yeah.
offering them from that meeting, you know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
fine with that personally.
I mean, if we get them signed in January, that's.
I can, well, I can see about sending them like a working draft so that we can at least get comments and incorporate comments all together. Or have the lawyers meet outside of the meeting, depending on. So,
I think
Oh,
most
yeah,
of
that
it's
might
the
be the
same.
easiest
There
one.
would be questions about payment structure, which I think.
yeah, I think the payment structure is the
Yeah,
biggest,
that's-
it's gonna be the biggest thing to work out.
Yes, yeah, I knew with KPAS we had a couple edits more so, and I think Marbletown, there was like one thing I saw, but.
And then there were
Rest
questions
didn't.
about the, requiring a board seat, which is, I think, a requirement in some of the squads, but. Okay.
Yeah.
So, that's the homework for that. Okay, so the constable positions and title. We have, I'm gonna pull those documents up real quick. Oh, okay. We can't talk without anything though. Meeting. Odds.
All right.
If you guys also, oh, sorry, not supposed to talk. Okay. They're putting on the permits, there's a signature line on the form now. Oh, good. So, hopefully that doesn't cause.
You're not supposed to talk about anything.
Huh? I'm talking to the town clerk.
Was that authorized?
It's 100% authorized. We talk.
I'll allow it.
I'm just not allowed to talk.
The two of you can talk and the two of us can talk.
Would you like to talk through me?
Yeah.
Well, really, it's just that the meeting is
I
like paused or I don't know.
am upset that I didn't get the green memo today.
We wear
Thanks a lot.
green on the same day.
What was the other color we were wearing the one day?
It was green.
Was it green?
Charlotte's also wearing green.
Oh,
So there's like, green's got powerful energy.
yeah.
Noticed it.
But no, we like oftentimes are wearing green.
Coordinate.
And it's not the same sweater. We have different green
Yeah.
sweaters that we wear.
See?
Yeah, on Thursdays we're green.
But also-
Is that why you moved on that side of the table?
I didn't
Okay.
realize
Nice.
halfway through and I was like. I think Michael, I was like, maybe Michael got the memo and I like looked under the table at your pants and your shoes.
I
And I
do
was
have
like,
great
nope.
pants. I almost wore them,
Mustard.
but I have to wash them.
So.
You're
We've,
not gonna watch it.
we've talked about the, constable job descriptions and title previously. So I just wanna, I know we got some comments from the public, in support of the chief title and in support of, Rich Miller. It's nice to hear about, you know, people's positive experiences with a department and a staff member, so I really appreciate that. What we're doing tonight, though, or what we're discussing tonight are just two issues that, though they absolutely 100% relate to specific staff, we're not talking about abolishing positions or deleting positions. I think there was a little misunderstanding about that. This has been something that's been on the to-do list for the town board for years now. There is only one position title available to the town currently from Ulster County Civil Service, and that is of constable. It is not a recommended practice to come up with our own titles or duties that are outside of those. So the town has worked very hard to make sure that every single position that we have and that we appoint is in line with Ulster County Civil Service. So what we're doing and what's on the agenda is creating a new position that would reflect the duties that are in line with someone in a leadership / management / supervisory role, which is not present in the current job title or job description available from Ulster County. So that is what we're looking at today. And if you guys also, like, I know if you want to speak with Rich about this, he's available and he can join us via Zoom. But I'll leave that to the board if you'd like that. But that, I just want to make it clear that that's what we're doing. So the first thing is, and I'm bringing up my notes, is when Ulster County, there also was a change in it, the position became a competitive position, and didn't recognize the requirements of that position through DCJS. So that's one of we just have to resolve the training requirement issue that exists in both positions. One position is a position that exists. The other position is a position that does not exist. And then the other is the issue of the title. I'm just pulling both of those up. And I think for the training requirements, we can just resolve if you want to do these things by resolution, we can do all these decisions by resolution, but you can just authorize me to request those training requirements from Ulster County Civil Service. Like as they've been presented to us, and then I will get back, I will just send that to them and ask them to approve those edits.
I'm fine with that, personally.
Okay,
Solve their issue then.
well, let's just do that. That way we can just cross that off the list. Do you want to make a?
I motion to authorize the town supervisor to review and resolve the edits to the training requirements and
So that they comply
so that
with,
they comply with DCJS and civil service training requirements.
I'll second.
all in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Okay, are there any other things about the job descriptions that you want to discuss or look at?
Yeah, I think we should look at it,
Okay,
and I think we need to talk about the title. I mean, I'm concerned by some of the correspondence we received today, because it seems like it implies that we're proposing to remove a position or the title of a town employee, and I don't think that's accurate, as you pointed out when we introduced this. To my knowledge, we've never had a position called chief constable. We don't currently have a position called chief constable, so we're not making a change or changing anyone's status. I'm proposing, as you said, creating a position that aligns with the roles and responsibilities of the person who will be handling and is handling the administrative requirements of the constabulary. And I've been clear in previous meetings about concerns about the chief constable title. I do support having a title that more accurately reflects the role in the position. But I have a concern with specifically the title of chief. And I actually took notes because I want to reiterate what my concerns are. This is a department that is staffed part-time. And for me, the title of chief implies a full-time leadership role that is assumed to carry significant operational responsibility and public accountability. And I think creating a chief title is going to create unrealistic expectations. The public might expect full-time availability of the constabulary. And we've already seen this happen when it comes to enforcement questions and noise violations. I think the same is true for emergencies. If someone has an issue that requires law enforcement, the appropriate thing to do is to call 911. And that's the only way that you're going to get a guaranteed response from county and state law enforcement. There's no guarantee that the constabulary is going to respond at 3 o'clock in the morning if you have an emergency. And I think having a title that says chief implies that this is like a full-time organization. I think it risks misrepresenting how we currently have the authorities for that department structure and the chain of command. I think a chief title suggests a level of command over the budget and staffing that the department doesn't currently have. You know, we consult the constabulary when looking to hire new people in those roles, but they don't currently have authority to make those hiring decisions on their own. And they don't decide whether and when they're going to deploy. If we want them to be able to do that, to set their own schedule of hours without the supervisor or the board approving, then we should have that discussion. If we want them to be able to self-deploy and schedule when they're going to be patrolling in town, then let's have that discussion. If we're not ready to have the discussion, then I think a chief position isn't appropriate right now. I think there's potentially administrative complications. And I think we've seen this too. There are regulatory bodies, accreditation bodies that assume based off of the title that somebody is a town employee has, that they may have certain authorities under the administrative structures that are typical of a full-time law enforcement agency. Chief constable is not the same as chief of police, but it could be interpreted that way, depending on who's receiving that correspondence. If we want to have a police force, I think we should go through the steps of defining that role and bring the issue to the voters and see if there's a need and a willingness to fund that type of organization. Do we want the constabulary communicating with other state and local officials independent of the board and the supervisor? I don't think we currently want to do that. If that changes, let's have a discussion. We can, discuss changing the title then. If we want to have a full-time agency that's going to function independently and communicate with the state. And finally, I think this potentially affects interagency relations. If we're not prepared to have the state troopers, county sheriffs coordinate directly with the constabulary, then having someone in the role of chief, I think, could create confusion and expectations. My understanding is that constabulary is not currently part of the 911 system. If we want to change that, I think It's appropriate to first communicate that through the county, talk to the sheriff's office. And make sure that we're aligned with them and that we understand what the implications of that are. And so, again, I just want to reiterate. I think it's appropriate to have a title change. I think if we want to do constable supervisor, department lead, constable administrator, we can do that. If we want to revisit this in the future, I'm happy to do that, but I think unless we want to really look at this department as a whole and figure out how we want to structure it, having that title is premature, not something I support.
I support changing it back to Louise. That is a lot. At least the industries I've worked in, restaurant and retail head is another one. The head cashier and bartender, where it's person in charge of the number one of that level of, employee, or like just above, half step or two above, but I agree. I think your points, Michael, are valid. The implications that the title gives to the public when we're not a full-time agency, and also even if we called it chief constable, they're not technically the head of the department. I agree with. At the same time, too, I know in the past I've supported the chief verbiage for the title, just because for law enforcement, that seems to be that goes along with the normal titles and verbiage that you're used to in a law enforcement department. But that being said, we have a law enforcement department, but they are not police officers, they are peace officers. It's a way, I guess, lighter of a training and responsibility compared to a police officer where there's chiefs and stuff like that. Not to not warrant all of the great work that our department does, but I agree with Michael. Be happy to change it back to possibly, but I'm open to hear what you have to say too, Erin.
Well, I think I've shared concerns about the issues that, like, the idea of the independent agency that to me that has definitely been something that I've worried about but to me that has more to do with that's more like a management organizational structure issue. We already have someone in a position who everyone in town calls chief. So I don't think that I understand that us creating an official title is one thing, but that there is that idea that already. So in terms of that creating like more confusion, I don't think that that's necessarily going to happen because we've been allowing that.
Hear me out. What if we did chief administrative constable?
And
add that in between to come in there?
so what I was gonna say is I think to me, the issues are more like how we haven't, sat down and with some of the things that you're talking about, Michael, I think are things that like we should work out and create, like, how do we want to see this department? And the other thing I want to say, I think a little bit more neutral on the title itself, as long as we do the work that we are talking about doing. One thing that I will say is it's a very common, that's what the lead of a department is called when it comes to, like, Olive has a part-time police force that's under the town board. It's very similar. Because part-time police forces have a very similar thing. They have, like, there's like a chief position in all of the part-time forces. So it's not an uncommon, I don't think it's uncommon for that to be the title. What I'd like to say, though, I think that the title to me is one issue. Another issue to me is that we do need a position that allows for supervision and to fulfill the requirements, to certify the training. And I personally don't want to have that responsibility land on the town supervisor's office. So it is important that we resolve this because we are currently operating by having someone in a role that, you know, is doing things that aren't, you know, we could make an argument that that fits within the role, but we created this position because we felt that it wasn't in line. So to me, it's important that we have a position where someone is coordinating, you know, the coordination between law enforcement and receiving a phone call from emergency services, that happens, like, that already happens. It's not, I'm not the one receiving those calls. So there already is like a coordination, and there should be a way that that's communicated and that other agencies know what number to call and all of that. And I think, like, if we want to look at those things and work them out, we should. But you know, with three of us here, we all have to vote in favor for anything to pass. So it's also possible that we should table like voting on the title until there are more of us here.
I was gonna say for the title, I would prefer to hear other board members' opinions too. I know that
If they'll be,
it'll be here, like, I know the three of us are the most experienced with this at this point. That being said, we know that the work is being done. Even though I'm still more supportive towards Michael's option of leave verbiage now than previously, the last, like, I think 6 months ago when we talked about this last. The work is getting done regardless, you know what I mean? We've already had this person in this position, and I think if we do so with clear boundaries and make sure we handle these issues, like who are other agencies contacting, what's the number they know, things like that. I think that would take away like some of the worries I have from the chief. The implications of a chief title, as long as we just make it very clear policies and boundaries and procedures for moving forward with these changes, you know, take effect on exactly how, like, just like, okay, this is what's the supervisor's office still, this is what is on the chief constable's list. You know
yeah,
what
I mean, I think from my part, I think what we've heard a lot from the public. So to me, if we're gonna put laws on the books that require enforcement after hours, overnight, we need an enforcement agency that needs to operate with some level of independence from departments that are operating on a typical 8 to 4 schedule.
Yes.
So we right now, like, level one, step one of the work that we've done with the department is it became competitive, the test happened, and we had to reappoint everyone. So like, that's happened. Now everyone is appointed according to civil service guidelines, and that has allowed us to meet the staffing requirements that we have for the court. And so that's good. I think I worked on that quite a bit. Other people worked on that, and the scheduling is happening. The court is covered. The security that has been requested by the justices to us is in place. And that was like our first goal. So that's one area of work that we have assigned our constables to, is to doing that. But we have other things like we have a no parking law, we have no parking in our streets, we have site plan approvals that have noise, we have noise thresholds. And all of this, all of that activity happens at night typically. And so there's another bucket of work that is the enforcement of those things. And we aren't resourced at the moment to cover that. So there is still, I guess for me, if we want to continue with having the level of enforcement that we've been requested for things that are happening in town, we need to be able, I guess that's what I feel like either we need to move forward in that direction or not. Just what I'm saying makes sense. And but for me, it's more about like, how is the department administered? How, like, are there policies and procedures the town board wants to be put in place? But then there needs to be someone who's coordinating, scheduling, reviewing, supervising, and all of that. Like, we need that position if we're going to move forward with enforcing those laws. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I agree. And I think, again, putting that structure in place, understanding what we're asking of the department, what the expectations are, like, have there been traffic tickets issued? We have
Yes.
Traffic tickets?
There have to be.
I don't know that, I know we had 18 calls and responses, but the details of that, like, we have agents of the town potentially that are going out and engaging with residents, and I think we should establish what the left-right limits of that are. And to me, it's premature to start talking about titles and creating positions of chief when I don't have a good sense of what we want as a board, this department to be. I don't know what the community necessarily wants this department to be. And I think we need to establish that before we have a conversation about something that I think is moving towards more of a police force structure. And I hear you that the title is used by other towns, but this is the decision that this board is making to go to the county and say, we want to create this category and have the ability to appoint someone to this position. So I'm fine tabling it. if you want to table
So
it, but-
can we can you and I, as the liaison and me can we could we set up a meeting to talk about those things that you're thinking about?
Yeah.
Okay. As the next step, and then I really want to get this resolved.
I mean, we can do the job description, but
Yeah, I think we're
getting
all,
hung up on a word here.
yes, we are, but I don't, is there anything else about the description that you wanted to talk about?
I mean, I think, yeah, there were a few things. Again, I want to understand what the board wants to do. In here it says access liaison to other law enforcement agencies, between the department and town supervisor. Do we want this role to be doing that, independent of the town board and independent supervisor? If we do, that's fine. What? Yeah, so I just want to make sure we're clear if that's going to be in the description. It says under the general supervision of the town supervisor. I don't know if that should just say under the supervision of the town supervisor, if town supervisor is technically department head. I wouldn't say with wide leeway allowed for exercise, sound independent judgment. I think either this department is reporting to the supervisor or we set up something with its own authorities. If we want to go in that direction.
Well, so general supervision means that you're not doing, if it's under direct supervision, it means that the person is directing every task.
Okay.
So general
Leave it.
supervision is very appropriate. I would say it's hard to, I feel like with a law enforcement position, I understand what you're saying about wide leeway. The people who are law enforcement agents are certified under their own laws that, like, I wouldn't be making a call as to whether or not a parking ticket should be written or what type of, if someone should be pulled over, like, so I think I can ask about that specifically, but it is important that we not create a description in such a way that, like, I would have to be consulted in things that I'm not trained or certified in.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I think it's, yeah, it makes sense. And the thing I want to be sure of is if we want. Because when the constabulary deploys, they essentially are functioning in some kind of law enforcement capacity, right? Once
Mhm.
they're
They're law
out, they can.
enforcement, and they are a police agency also.
Right, so if we're gonna have it where there's wide leeway or they can deploy when the call comes in, I want to make sure that the board is aligned with that power, because now we potentially have people patrolling the town, and do we have the right liability insurance? Have we considered,
We do.
potential implications of that? Like, I just want to make sure we have that discussion if we're going to say this is now a department that we're allowing to function independently. Because
Well, we're
we
not-
allow that now.
Well, we're not, so I think function independently and function as a town. So first, let me say, the way the civil service descriptions work is it's sort of like, a square is a rectangle, but a rectangle is not a square. So just because something is on the list, it doesn't supersede the fact that the town board has the authority to set the, like, all the thing, just the law itself sets how the constabulary works, which is they are directed by the town board in what they do. So this does not undo any of that.
Okay.
So if there's something listed here that we are like, no, that's not going to be part of the job, that's fine. But the main thing is that this position, someone in this position or someone in the constable position, if it's not listed and it's not a related work, they cannot perform that.
Mhm.
So I think that's just one thing to keep in mind. You can. So people aren't directed to do the things, but if someone was told to do something that was not listed here, that's where you would get into information.
Well, that's part of why we're having this discussion in the first place. Because constable doesn't include, the position of constable doesn't include some of these things.
Yeah, it
Okay.
says and related work as required, but in consultation with our HR consultant, it was determined that, yeah, there really should be, if you want someone doing these things, that there should be, you should request that.
Yeah, so those are my main edits, so. I guess the summary of that is. Sounds like you're fine with all of that. Erin,
I mean, I'm fine with going through it. I wanted to qualify the conversation by saying those things. If there are questions, wordsmithing, like, I didn't want
No,
to shut the conversation down.
those were the big things.
So how do you, the liaison part and the wide leeway?
If the board's okay with that, then. I'm okay with it. And what you're saying is we can still define that. This is the job description. It has to be encompassing of anything we expect the position to do. But we can define that later on,
Yes,
if there are specific things we don't.
yes, just if something, everything has to be in accordance with our adopted policies, so. There are things like this is nitpicky, but manages annual adopted budget. You know, the way the town works is that you have purchasing officers that are beholden to their budget and they can't purchase anything outside of it. But any management of the budget, meaning any modifications or anything, would have to be us. So, you know, I don't know that that language is in any other. Cause it's just, you're beholden to the law and that's how it works. The only person who's actually managing the budget is that budget officer. So that's nitpicky, but I understand what it means. It just means that that person would be like looking at the budget and making sure they're sticking to it and making the purchases that were budgeted. So like there's things like if we wanted to like focus on those things, we could, but that person is not gonna get to do budget mods because that's our job as the board, you know.
Right.
Does the point I'm making make sense?
Yeah.
Um,
The position can't write law.
right, but like daily logs, the town board could define what we want daily logs to be, and then that would be the person in this position would have to meet the daily log requirements, make sure that the daily log requirements that we've set have been met in accordance with state law. You know, we
Do we want? Hold off till other board members weigh in?
Right, I think so. I think that was the consensus.
I think so, because just in terms, I wanted to like put all of this to a vote and hearing your feedback, I feel like, I know you suggested chief administrative constable.
I think it might be an easier middle of the road, still have the chief title, but it says administrative, so that it's not as,
Right.
you know, all encompassing authority sounding. But I'm open and flexible to whatever we need to do, but I would like to hear the other two board members' opinions.
Yeah, I think we should wait.
Okay, and then in the meantime, I would like to sit down with you and Rich and talk about some of the reporting, some of these questions that you had about the department itself. To try to see about that.
Mhm.
And this month is good for you at the end of the month, we could, okay. Okay, so. I was so excited because I thought we were gonna. Keep it for 2 hours, so we had a public hearing, okay. Well, I don't think we're gonna be able to go through the code enforcement fees. Okay, overview. C, D, and E, these are all fee schedules. This is prep work for our organizational meeting. As you guys remember, in our budget talks, I talked a lot about how we need to raise revenue. And we did put in for revenue increases for the transfer station and for the code enforcement and building department. So that means we need to raise fees for them because we can't like force activity. So I would like to be able to have, I know this is like sounds, I would like to be able to have the fees that we want to adopt at our organizational meeting by the 30th. So that they're ready to go and any changes that we make are not a big deal and I can publish them as soon as we adopt them because the fees are going to change quite a bit.
Mhm.
And I actually wish I had them ready to adopt tonight so that I could publish them somewhere so that people are prepared. I printed this out and I feel silly because I don't think we're gonna go through it. But this is the, Alyssa and I went through and made notes about where there should be increases for the building and code enforcement office fees. The work that I'd like to do is I want to do an audit of neighboring towns. And, because some of these increases are quite significant, but also some of our prices are like very, very low. So, I, just in terms of like knowing that like some of the fire inspections take 8 hours and we're not like charging staff time of 8 hours, but there's more staff time that goes into fire safety inspections than staff time. So like we need to at least, so some of this comes from that, just like having the, our administrative personnel having been starting to track like how long these take. So when we put them on the calendar and like the 70, where is it? There was like one, it was like, we're charging $80 for it. And it was like, oh, this takes 8 hours for some people. That's not covering my staffing costs. So is there anyone that would like to help me get a fee schedule document prepared for the code enforcement office by the 30th?
I have time.
You do?
Yeah, I can help you too, sorry.
You're what?
I think I get 6 on this screen or not.
Oh,
But I can
you're
also.
trying
help
to
you.
not end our meeting.
I'm trying.
If
If
Councilman Smeeth leaves, our meeting is adjourned. Because we won't have a quorum. Okay, so
But I
Michael,
can help you too.
okay,
Excel file, like, or if you want me to do like the comparison for like neighbor bordering towns.
oh,
Do that. if you
okay,
want. Help
okay,
You guys do this side, but
okay.
I'm happy to do that.
The transfer station fees are in better working order, so I thought I was gonna ask if we could review those as long as we can hold out through the
I
meeting.
feel like this one is what really needs to get to the public.
I know, I agree with
yeah.
you.
This is what's gonna affect more.
So
people.
we could, if we go through it, this one's in a lot better shape. This one's in a lot better shape, so we could actually, well, I didn't get a chance to get feedback from staff. But we could adopt the permit fees, actually. That's gonna be the one. That's the one that's changing.
Yeah.
We could adopt those and post them. I made your recommendations purple.
It's a good color.
It is a good color. This is mine, right? Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm like. Woman.
Did you listen?
Did I listen to any of that? I think I did. I raised that original one that I had for the non-resident was 75.
Mhm.
So what, Charlotte, what I was saying is, I think we could, if we look at the, permit fees, we could maybe adopt those tonight, and then I could do a press release. And we still have a couple hundred permits, so people could buy permits if
Before the
they
end of the
want to
year.
get in. And then the others, though, I think we need a little bit more time because that breakdown, I wanted to consult with staff. So if we could look at the permit fees and then if I could get a little bit of feedback about the others. So one thing for you guys, we are planning on a townwide transfer station mailing at the beginning of the year. So I'm actually working on that documentation. This was gonna turn into like a chart that has like images on it to illustrate some of the things. We're going to, the permit form this year. Oh, are we not even streaming? Oh, we are, sorry. The permit form has a signature line on it this year. So says by signing this, I have received and agree to follow the policies. And so we'll have, I'm gonna have a policy doc for you guys by the 30th also, that just lays out the transfer station policies. And then that mailing will also include sorting information, like come and sort, and then the new pricing structure. And I also want to include in that the tipping fee for the UCRA is going up 25% starting 2025, starting January 1st. So for example, just the cost of disposing of a pouch, like a sectional, is going to cost the town $25. And our previous fee for that was $24. So, also mattresses, they charge us $5 currently for every mattress, plus the weight of the mattress, which isn't that much. It's $10 starting January 1st.
Is that what they charge an individual that goes to UCR?
Yes.
So we pay the same thing.
We pay the same thing. So if there's 20 mattresses in the pools, we're paying the full charge, we're paying the weight charge, and then we're paying $100 for these mattresses. So I'm trying to reflect that in these costs because we have staff time, we have overhead, we have tipping fees, and then we have the weights. So basically it's gonna be 6.75 cents per pound. In addition to the our delivery, our fuel surcharges and the rental costs and the tipping fees. So in the mailing this year, I wanted to break down what the transfer station costs are and just do like an overview of like, we don't charge you for recycling, but it still costs the town money. Like we pay a rental fee and a pull charge and a fuel surcharge for recycling. So our permit fees need to cover those overhead expenditures. And then when we're thinking about our garbage fees, we have to consider that too. I also called our tire. I feel we got a charge for a tire that was $120 recently. I don't know if you guys saw that on one of the vouchers. So it was a 4-ply like truck tire. So I called, I had them break down the fee structure. We had too many categories. They only have 4 categories that they charge for. So I think that was causing some confusion. And so he offered, I said that I was gonna make a visual and he said he would approve the visual for me. So I'm gonna put together a visual based on our conversation. I'm gonna send it to them. He'll let me know if my visuals are the correct thing, and then we'll have like a really clear way of evaluating what those charges should be. But so my changes reflect the conversation I had with the tire place. So they are charging $30 per ply. We were charging $8. And the ply is, to answer your question, it's listed on the side of the tire. So you should be able to look at the tire and it'll say how many plies it is. So that is just some of the context for some of the really large increases. In speaking with staff, the recommendation was made to keep the punch cards the same, which I think is fine. So, you know, the punch card unit will remain $8, the punches will remain $2 punches. And I think that'll help a little with the fact that we're raising permit fees. The other big thing and the main thing to review, because this is what we do the most of, is the household waste charges. We previously had a gallon system that was like up to 30 gallons to this, and then a large can. The issue that happens is that people think of it as a volume thing where they're like, want to say, well, my bag isn't full. And so it's less than 30 gallons. And that's just a really difficult thing to manage. And a lot of towns do a bag size system, and that's what I'm recommending that we switch over to. Yes.
We have example bags on the side of the shed.
Yes. Yeah, and then, so I looked up what standard bag sizes are, and I'm totally open to feedback from the board. These we can change. I also really wanted to get feedback from staff because they're dealing with this. So small kitchen bags are typically 13 gallon, but there are also 16 gallon. So that's why I'm like less than 16 gallons. We're just using the bag sizes as our thresholds. And then
Aren't there 19-gallon kitchen bags too?
these are not standard. Well, a 19-gallon kitchen bag would be $4 in the new chart. And in your chart.
That's not bad. I'm like comparing how many bags of garbage I fit
Oh yeah, 13 gallons is.
in my receptacle for waste management and how much I pay a month for pickup. And this is way cheaper.
It's way cheaper. It's still way cheaper to use the transfer station.
Yeah. 'cause
It's sorry, I should say more cost effective. It does take time to
and
drive to
gas,
the.
yeah. But still, like I think my container could maybe fit. Like I'm talking pushing it, the lid at an angle, like 10.
Ooh, so you've
Of
got
the
one of the big
smallest
ones.
bags, yeah, I have the
So
large, I have like the
96 gallon.
mediums, 96.
The 96 gallon is supposed to fit
Bro, I got
8 to 10.
a lot of diapers.
I did all this.
Yeah, so I was gonna say I can
I
fit
bet it
probably
fits.
10, so like
9-10 gallon
$20. Like that's what I pay. That's like a third of what I pay for the month. And that's only like one, pickup. So I think that those are on point. I think that most of this looks good if we're looking to just pass the permit only fees for tonight so that you can circulate something. The only,
It's a car.
okay, right, like if someone else is,
They're driving through.
yeah, I thought it was.
This
someone
happened at the
pushback.
planning board meeting. They drove through the parking lot.
But the permit fees. I think, that. All of these. Costs and, raises are fine for the non-resident one. Do you think that's a lot? Or is that's like, we have a lot of neighboring towns that use our transfer station? That's fine.
So we don't have anyone, there's no non-resident permits. This was something that was requested. There are people that live closer to our transfer station than Marbletown, but they like live in Marbletown.
Mhm.
So, I had originally put 75. We got feedback for 100. So the issue is, there is a cost to the taxpayers for operating the transfer station. So even if someone's not utilizing the transfer station, there is a cost to our budget. So we should have, it should be a higher price because of, to recognize that, but so, you know, whether it's 90% higher versus 50% higher, you know, we can,
I think for this first year, we should do 50% higher personally. And do it at 75. To see how it goes over and then,
So we used to have non-resident permits and they were $70 and that was 7 or 8 years ago.
do you remember about how many of those?
Maybe 10.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we were thinking about capping it at 25. Just to see, because we don't want to like sell, we don't really want to like hyper promote it.
Right.
We're only getting 1,500 permits, so
So I was gonna say, that's not, I don't think $90 is too excessive of where we were 8 years ago with that cost. People were paying $70 8 years ago. For a non-resident.
make it an even 100 then, because I'd rather have.
And honestly, if they don't wanna use it, they'll go to the other transfer station.
And can I make one suggestion to
Yes.
one proposed edit too?
yeah,
Can we change the day? Fee to 15 and move the seniors to 25
I'd like to leave the seniors at 20.
or 20. I was just looking to give the seniors more of a break. I'd like to not.
Yeah.
Raise too much on them,
Yeah, I think we should keep the seniors at 20.
especially if there are these new billing things that we got the one letter about, right?
Yeah.
If we can not increase, say like $10, but if we cannot increase their
Yeah.
fees, so then we can leave the non-resident. I was just trying to balance that out, so it made the $5 made up somewhere to make it an easier request. So, but if you guys are fine with changing it down, I would prefer to just change it down to 20.
just to 20.
Yeah, not to raise
Yeah.
the senior one, and then all the rest can stay the same. That we discussed already.
And then
Are you okay with that, Aaron?
I'm okay with leaving the senior. I'm okay, we want to raise the non-resident now to 100.
I like it being, the idea of it being double of what a resident is.
Charlotte,
Huh?
you're like. I said I love you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It needs to be even.
Okay.
My dyslexic and ADHD brain needs it.
Yeah, I mean, it's still less than,
I added up the difference and this would account for a little less than half of what we're looking for.
Fees.
The fee, the permit increase, we're looking for about a 40,000 increase of revenue from this income in this budget line, and this increase, if we sell the same number of permits, is about $16,000 to $18,000.
but on
So,
the expenditure side, it's not, we may be more than a 25% increase, right? Because of how we've been undercharging on some of the stuff, on the tires and some of the.
for expenditures.
Yeah.
With
They're increasing their fees 25%, but we may already have been.
You
losing
see-
money.
oh, yes, that's true. We also have implemented a very strict charging more recently, and this the household waste is to support that. So it's like without trying to raise fees too much. So I don't know if you noticed, I was like actually trying to keep the fees within the same structure, but add like a $6 where some people might have been paying $4, they might be paying $6, but people bringing in the small kitchen bags are just gonna continue to pay the $2. But hopefully with a more, if someone who was bringing in a contractor bag might have been paying $2, they're now not going to be paying that
They're paying 6.
because we're using the language of a bag. And if people want to pay the 2 punch, they just need to get the small kitchen bags. If that's what they're utilizing. So we're hoping that we'll see a little
That's
bit.
Normal kitchen bag. That's like a standard size.
Yeah, that's like a white bag.
Yeah.
That the picture will be a white bag,
Right.
but it's like the white bag.
You say small, it's like
person's normal kitchen waste bag is like $2.
You're right. Yes, and that's
Yeah,
a,
not like the little office bathroom.
Right.
not
so
those.
I think
That's
that
what I was picturing.
this will help. The other thing is that we had, like, when the highway department gets tires and things like that, that's also part of our, like, it's,
When they
we,
pick them up.
we pay these fees for tires.
You're talking when they like collect them off the road, when
Mhm.
people illegally dump them.
Yeah, and when we do the
Change
clean
our-
out, when we do the clean out, the town pays for that disposal of those, the recycling of those, they get recycled.
It's
Okay.
illegal dumping. That is.
So I'd like to make a motion to adopt the 2025 transfer station permit fee schedule as presented and amended tonight.
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Okay, very quickly. Board and commission vacancies. I'd like to, I know we have them. I get emails from different boards and commissions every week asking us to make appointments to get the word out. So I'd like to do the communications that we have been talking about. And get that out this week and give, like, what do you think? 5 weeks, 6 weeks? For people to give like an application deadline.
I would make it your second meeting in January, somewhere around there.
The regular meeting.
So then you can make your appointments or set up your
Yeah,
interviews by the end of January.
We're just doing organizational. We're not doing a workshop in January, and then we'll have the regular meeting second week.
I don't know.
No.
I wanna go down, well, I was
have
gonna
to
talk about
fix
this at the end. I wanna go down to 2 meetings a month,
Hmm.
starting in January. We have a plan for how to do the audit that I wanna present. So it's kind of hard to. We do have to still audit the bills, so it's nice having the meetings. You know, spaced out a little, but, you know, in terms of the timing, I thought the board might wanna do like first Thursday, last Thursday, I don't know. I don't know what you guys wanna do, but.
I think that it's probably wise to talk about, I know we set our meetings in our organizational meeting for the year, but I think it might be wiser since we have a brand new member that'll be joining us, and we have another member who has not had great luck with scheduling conflicts at our meetings that maybe, like, I know I'm open to a different night of the week if we find one or discuss one for like meeting space. If we-
Not
Not
Thursday?
Thursdays, I'm totally fine.
That would be like,
myself, but like-
do Fridays.
Oh, God, no.
That,
Huh?
Like that.
No, absolutely not.
okay,
No,
Absolutely.
I don't. want to do that.
okay. So. I think. Do we have, so basically, we're gonna have our organizational meeting. At that meeting, I thought we would. Create the meeting cadence for the year. January has 5 Thursdays, so if we wanted to make the deadline. The 15th. The 8th or the 15th. That would, give us. You know, if we made it the 8th, what is today? It's not that much time, but that's,
Especially with holidays, I don't know.
yeah, maybe.
Why don't we make it
12?
Yeah, why don't we do it 12 to 12? Why don't we just make it a solid month? And do it to the 12th,
And then,
And that's a date.
hmm?
and that's a date
January.
in January. And that's January, Michael, Charlotte, and Aaron's problems to deal with,
Mhm.
not December, like
That's right.
Aaron, Charlotte's. problems.
New year.
And is the 13th a holiday?
MLK, you're thinking?
Yeah.
No, I think it's the,
It's the 20th.
Okay,
yeah, 'cause it's the same day as the inauguration.
So we want to make a deadline of the 12th for consideration in January. If people can apply anytime, okay. And I mean, okay, here's the only thing, but I want to know. I'm not wearing my
I
glasses.
need a vehicle off my dump permit. I totally forgot about until just now.
Oh, we have several, how should I do, I think in terms of taking out an ad, it should be simple in terms of posting a notice, like I could post a notice with links, or we could post a notice that has separate. I found like the planning board was very effective because it was like, here's what we're looking for in a planning board member.
Mhm.
But when we do like the open call, I find that they're not as effective. So how would you guys like me to structure?
You're saying because we're calling for any applicants to any open positions.
Yeah, and I want to list all the vacancies.
Do we not want to just do individual notices for each?
I was gonna say, how many do we have?
Board of Assessment Review, housing, ECC, Climate Smart, Ambulance Improvement District Committee. I mean, HPC,
Let's say HBC, is there a
And the-
vacancy on the rec department?
and there's going to be,
I thought we still had a vacancy too.
we have a vacancy and I know someone is leaving.
Okay.
Or whose term is up and is doesn't wanna. continue. No. Charlotte. Okay, so I could do an ad. Do you guys want me to do an ad?
I think so.
I could do an ad where I say, go to our town website
For description.
for descriptions.
And then have really good descriptions.
And just
that
have
like-
really good descriptions at like a link.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense to. That would be a lot of notices.
Yeah, I mean, I selfishly want the housing committee to have one, because I'm fearful that. There's all this momentum going on the housing site inventory, and we didn't stagger any appointments when we formed the committee, so they're all. The whole committee could leave at the end of the month. That does not have a committee at all, so like I'm worried about.
Yeah.
That for that one, other than that, I'm not like, I do want the vacancy filled on other boards, but we at least staggered terms everywhere else, so. But I'm happy, I like the idea of just doing like one ad saying, hey, check out this link for descriptions of all of our open committee.
Yeah,
positions.
okay.
You
So
know, like-
I'll work on getting those descriptions and postings up and, okay, so for G, I'm just gonna do this on the fly. I'd like to make a motion to create a community center grounds committee that is, Ashley Sweeney, Bethany Denon, myself and Charlotte Smisa to plan, organize and like come up, facilitate the improvements to the grounds behind the community
Second.
center. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstain, motion carries. I already gave the new local laws update, sort of.
Yeah.
I would like to alert the town board that we passed some typos in some of the newer changes that we made. And I am working on some local laws that will correct those. One thing that is going to be in there is none of us thought about the table of contents.
Oh.
I mean, I thought about the table of contents in that I was thinking about the chapter names, but none of us thought about the pages. So we adopted a local law with a table of contents that includes page numbers that aren't accurate.
Yeah.
So Mary Lou told me that that doesn't change anything in the code itself, but printing those out for the code enforcement office, I'm gonna go through and handwrite it.
So
But I can't edit the I can't edit the law. So, and also I'm gonna talk to the planning board planner consultant, because he's been combing through the law, and I wanna catch. I think some of the ones that are glaringly obvious, we should just catch, pass the law, get it done. But then, once we get that codification of the two laws, I'm gonna reinitiate that codification project, because they do a professional review of everything. And then we would have another local law to pass in a few months that would, any discrepancies, and they like catch everything, but it's just like a really long, arduous process. Where they're like, this thing contradicts this thing, and I just feel like that's gonna be so good, because that was such a huge change that we just did, and having, like, there's bound to be mistakes.
yeah, 9 years long of a process of how many different hands and voices on it, there's things that we didn't realize that are on page 5, they contradict themselves on page 105, and I go back on page 200, like there's gonna be weird, small nuances like that.
For the planning board vice chair, I thought we should just make that appointment at the organizational meeting. Are you guys okay with that? They don't have a meeting between now and then.
Yeah, that's fine.
So, okay, great. The software for the code enforcement, I gave an update on that. We have had a couple demos, and I have another one scheduled on January 7th. If there's another board member that would like to come to that demo, I can send you the link. Are you saying you do, or you just?
I'll see you on January
Okay.
7th.
Yes. Software for the planning board.
So, links important.
So,
Chocolate.
Those came from our
roulette.
bank.
Well, that
Yeah.
that one had orange in it.
Oh, that's not.
There's no chart, but.
Usually there's, I didn't wanna like touch it. No, it's not there. Ooh. Kind of moved it.
They're from our bank. Agreed. That one looks good.
Oh, I just saw that coconut thing.
I don't wanna eat that green one, but. Mm.
What flavor you got?
That was like a chocolate nougat. That salt one looks pretty enticing. Mm.
It's like a brittle.
Ooh, peanut brittle? Sam, those might be coffee beans. Two. Nope, not coffee bean.
Were you, no, you weren't at the meeting, the audit meeting where Councilwoman Ciardi brought in stuff from Saunderskill. And I was asking them, I was like, please silence yourself so I can start the meeting. And the meeting opens and tastes like pumpkin pie.
No, I didn't say, I
It
said,
was something-
does it taste like?
Oh,
pumpkin?
it was something.
It did not. If I remember.
All right.
We have to do an executive session, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking about.
I know. I just have a homework assignment for the board.
I thought they were for show, but maybe they're for senior gifts.
Awards, yeah.
I don't know.
What time is that? Noon?
No.
No, it's a
10
brunch.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's 10 to 12.
yeah. We have a. Oh.
I'll be here flipping pancakes.
Are you cooking?
Okay. So I just have a homework assignment. So we have our final business meeting agenda. I shared the organizational meeting agenda. I'm hoping to have that out next week. So that Kate can prep for minutes and that you guys can prep. If there's any changes or anything you're thinking in terms of like revolutionizing the board. In 2025,
Figure it out in the week.
huh?
Figure it out in a week.
Yeah. Figure it out, but also, there might be some workshopping, like the fee schedule and policy manual stuff. I want to get that planned out and really start thinking about that stuff. And with that, we should move on to our executive session.
Make a motion to enter into executive session at 9:36 PM for the purpose of discussing medical of a particular employee.
Sure. I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries.